Good morning, everyone. Let's do some prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhur Bhavaswaha, Tat Savitra Varenayam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodayat. Asto ma sadgamya, tamso ma jyotirgamya, mrityorma amritam gamya. Om Sahnavavtu, Sahnabhunaktu, Saviryam Karvavahi, Tejasvi Navadhitamastu, Ma Vidvishavahi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So in today's class, there's no book. So you can take notes or you can just listen. This is typically a general topic because we all need to, we know a lot, but still there are certain areas we need certain clarification. So that is the reason we have this one day a week about the general topics. So we all know the major teachings in Bhagavad Gita by Yogeshwar Krishna. So you can call them teachings, major teachings of yoga also, the yogic philosophy. One is called selfless action, and the other one is non-attachment. Let's look at selfless action first. There are certain philosophers, they say that knowledge alone liberates. The Gyanis say that. But Lord Krishna himself says this liberating knowledge can be achieved only through the yoga of action. We are learning that in our Sunday's classes very clearly in a lot of detail. Because knowledge alone does not nullify action. It only burns the binding power of those actions. Knowledge allows a person to understand the nature of action and to pave the way for a life of skillful action. So that means throughout our life, we are doing actions. We got to learn how to do those actions. For even a second, we cannot be without doing actions. So running away from the duties of the world does not solve the problems of life. There's no way that these problems can be avoided. So as a practitioner, we must accept them as challenges. And problems could be at the physical level, material level. It could be in our relationships. There's so many different ways we have challenges. A person is bound in the rope of karmas from time immemorial. So this karma chakra, we don't know when it started. It is possible, however, to live freely in this world and to find joy in meeting all of life's challenges. That is possible. So knowledge, spiritual strength, and skillful action done selflessly form the entrance way to the kingdom of eternal life. So knowledge also the spiritual strength also. And where do we get that strength? With the connection with God. And that's what's called bhakti. And skillful action. So combination of all these three. Inner strength is the driving force necessary for both secular as well as a sacred success. Because we want success in this outer world, we want to have a success in the inner world also. But this inner strength comes only from selfless service. That selfless service expressed through mind, action, and speech. So all three areas, mind, action, and speech. In the scriptures, they say, manasa, karmana, and vacha. All three areas. No one can live in this world without performing actions. We hear it again and again through the wise people's mouth. From birth to death, the entire body-mind organism is geared to perform some sort of action continuously. Because breathing is an action too. Sitting is an action. Walking is an action. Constantly we are doing actions. Inaction leads a person to inertia. That is tamsikta. And selfish action creates a rope of bondage for us. Okay, so not doing anything, that's tamsikta. Doing selfish actions just for yourself, that's a bondage. And this rope is very strong rope. It's almost like a chain link made of iron. It is only the selfless action alone that helps us gain release from the bondage of karma. That's the message Bhagavan Krishna is giving it to us. He really shows us the art of living, how to perform selfless action. In a very detailed manner, he wants us human beings to understand the purpose of life and how to expand our personality while realizing the presence of divinity within and without. So that means the divinity is inside us. Divinity is in everybody and everywhere. That's called without, within and without. That's how we can move to higher dimensions of awareness. That's how we really learn to love all the creatures of this world. When we sing those prayers, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, that Sarva means all. That doesn't mean only me and you and our families. That means all. Sarv. Through the expansion of the center of love and the performance of selfless actions, a person becomes free from all the residue of the past sanskaras. This is the way. So we got to learn how to do the selfless actions to the best of our ability, because that also is the finest of all sources of tranquility, the shanti, the peace. That's the only way we can experience higher levels of consciousness. That's how we can cast away all the boundaries created by our own karmas. Selfless action. That's how important it is. Remember that no one can be free without paying the karmic debts remaining from what was done in the past lives. Even though we don't know, and we don't have to know what we did. If we start doing more and more selfless actions now, all that dirt will be removed. Slowly, but surely. These karmic debts can be paid only through the performance of selfless actions. So that's why Lord Krishna paid so much importance to Karma Yoga. Even when Arjun asked, he said, you talk about the Gyan, but then you are asking me to do this heinous action where I have to wage the war. So that's why Lord Krishna said, you have to get up, do your action. And this is the way to do it as a yogi, selflessly. It is the ultimate responsibility of all human beings to discharge their duties faithfully, skillfully, and selflessly. Just memorize these three terms. Faithfully, skillfully, selflessly, so that we can be freed from the obligations of our own karmic debts. It's not somebody else's debt. It's our own debt. We need to wash away. Nobody else can do it for us. Selfless action in the service of humanity is the real implication of all the rituals also. In Vedas, there are countless rituals mentioned. But ultimately, doing all those rituals selflessly will take us to this higher place. Another teaching, which I mentioned earlier from Bhagavad Gita, is non-attachment. You can call it Vairagya. Let's try to understand it. Because sometimes we just understand it with a very negative connotation. No. This is a very powerful part of our sadhana. When we learn to love others, not just human beings, but all creatures of the universe, we are truly learning to love. When we understand that there's only one force, which is called life, by loving all, one loves the life force itself. And we should learn to express love through mind, action, and speech. But of these, action is the most important. That's why selfless action done skillfully is the highest of all the expressions of love. If we really want to learn to love others, we will have to surrender the desire to enjoy the fruits of our actions. That's the only way we express love. Actually, universal love means non-attachment. Attachment is an expression of the ego, which identifies itself with the external objects of the world. Through this identification, we exclude ourselves from many things that should be integral parts of our life. So attachment is an attitude of mind that binds the personality to the petty objects of desire that we want to achieve. Attachment to any object creates the fear of losing it. And remember that non-attachment does not mean not to strive to be successful in whatever you're attempting to do. Nor does it imply that one should be lazy in his actions or not careful while performing the duties. On the contrary, true non-attachment frees a person to be fully enthusiastic, which inspires our willpower to grow, that enthusiasm, which is called utsaha. For the practice of non-attachment, we have to develop a proper philosophical attitude. We must consider ourselves to be a traveler in the cosmic city of life. And we must view this present life as a brief stopping place on this journey. So this is like one small portion of the big journey. Nothing here is our own. Everything, including the body, mind, and external objects, they have been given to us temporary on a loan. So that's why we should consider ourselves as custodians of what we have, including this body or the mind. We should not identify ourselves with these tools. Our rishis called them upadhis. These are the tools given to us to use them for the higher purpose, not just get attached to them. We should neither grieve over loss nor be overjoyed with gain. We should always remember that these objects are borrowed for a particular purpose. We should learn how to use these objects. Sure, enjoy every moment of being alive, but without forgetting the highest goal of life. So we should enjoy. Our yogis, they are not saying they don't enjoy. Enjoy using the tools, but do not forget the highest purpose of life. And do not forget that these are temporary loan to us. So while living in this world, enjoying the objects, we should not forget that sooner or later, we will leave all this behind. This is the principle of non-attachment. This principle provides a constant awareness of truth. So remember that it does not imply non-enjoyment, but is the process of applying ourselves toward the highest goal of life instead of involving ourselves in the whirlpool of desires. Okay, otherwise we are just constantly get agitated. We think we want to enjoy, but if we don't understand it properly, we are creating more grief for ourselves and others. Most spiritual practices and rituals are concerned with making demands. Many of the prayers devoted to the Supreme Being are actually laden with selfish wishes. Oh Lord, you are the emperor of the universe, we say. You are the richest, kindest one. Please grant me a wonderful job, a loving spouse, beautiful children, a nice home. You're constantly asking. I would say that these are man-made prayers. If we are just praying like this all the time, we will never lead towards the highest goal of life. We have to understand the higher kind of prayer, which is called a God-centered prayer. Because only a God-centered prayer is meant for leading us to enlightenment, which is the goal of our life. Prayers that are not free from the bondage of attachment and desire cannot provide the highest goal of life. Remember that. Even the most common activities involved with worldly objects and people, they make us more and more attached. We have to learn how to bring non-attachment in our mind. While praying also, while doing our duties also. Only then we are walking or leading towards the attainment of liberation or self-enlightenment. We all know that we are slave to our duties and actions. But when these duties and actions are performed with perfect detachment, we become the master. We don't stay a slave. Because we are no longer bound to receive the fruits. Rather, we are free to receive or reject whatever comes to us. We learn again from Bhagavad Gita that action in itself never binds one. Because Lord Krishna says very clearly, the Jnani does the same actions, does not get bound. Does the same actions, a Jnani eats also. Jnani breathes also. Jnani lives this life also, but does not get bound. Because the non-attachment, through non-attachment, became Jnani. So action itself doesn't bind us. It is the fruit of our actions that binds us. So we got to find joy in renouncing the desire to enjoy the fruits of our actions. So action performed with attachment makes us helpless actually. This kind of a person has no choice but to enjoy or suffer the fruit of the action. But the action performed, the same action performed with the non-attachment, benefits all without creating any bondage to the performer. If a person thinks it proper to receive some fruits for a particular purpose, then he can accept that which is necessary and distribute the remaining fruits to others. And this is another teachings from Bhagavad Gita. Do the actions yagya rupe. Even when we do the simple yagya, in our rituals, the fire ceremony, when we recite those mantras, we are not keeping them all for ourselves. We are spreading it. Or even that purification of the air through the ghee and the samagri. We are not holding it. This goes into the atmosphere, purifies the atmosphere. Even the offering made to God, whether it's a fruit or nut or sweets, we distribute. That's how we purify ourselves. When we do the actions, yagya rupe. So non-attachment should not be confused with indifference or being complacent. Because when we are indifferent or when we are complacent, we do not improve further. We think we are okay the way we are. Non-attachment, on the other hand, inspires a person actively to seek higher attainment. Because I often hear from people that non-attachment, then we won't improve. No, that's not how it goes. Indifference is usually indulged in as a mere escape. Because when a person finds himself unable to cope with a situation or to solve a problem, that person will assume an attitude of indifference towards it. That's not how a yogi lives. So the form of escapism is the negative property of a weak and a forlorn person, not a yogi. Because yogi wants to live as a non-attached. So non-attachment is a positive quality of a strong and inspired person. One who is non-attached meets all the challenges that come his way without allowing them to disturb his equilibrium and tranquility. This is one thing a yogi always keeps in mind. Is my mind in equilibrium? Is it tranquil or not? And non-attachment takes us to that level. Such a person remains unaffected by both failure and success. So the concept of non-attachment can be better understood through the example of the matter of oblations, as I mentioned earlier. When we are making the offering to that ritualistic fire. So the performance of the ritual or the performer of the rituals takes the oblation. It could be the ghee, the clarified butter, or even the sticks, or that samagri, or some kind of a sweets. What do? We take it in our hand. We recite a mantra, holding it. And what do we say again and again? Idam namam. That means it does not belong to me anymore. Idam namam. In this way, the way we express our resignation of ownership over the object, we offer it to God. The same way we can do our other actions also. Idam namam. It's not mine. I'm just an instrument. Offering oblations in the sacrificial fire symbolizes mental training, actually. It's not just for that moment, not just for doing the ritual at that time. Effect of that should be carried with us in our other actions. That's how we learn, we train our mind to renounce attachment to the worldly objects also. With that kind of a non-attached mind, we should share our possessions with all. We see someone who needs help. Keep in mind, whatever you are giving, whatever you are doing, idam namam. Slowly, this ego, the wall of ego, we are chipping it down. Each time we understand that idam namam. Just like that fragrance is enjoyed by all, that's how the actions of a yogi are enjoyed by all. When we have that kind of a feeling in our attitude. In order to practice selflessness and non-attachment, the yogi guru says that your life has to be disciplined. If the life is not disciplined, these terms just stay only as terms in our vocabulary. So self-control and self-discipline is very important. Because we all know that we think that we are master of our life. But most of the time, we allow ourselves to live as a slave of our environment. That's why we feel weak. That's why we go into sadness. So even though we are the master, but we feel we are slaves. This slavery manifests itself in all aspects of our personality. And what are those aspects? Physical, mental, and energy levels. There is so much energy everywhere. God has put in all that pran everywhere. There's no place where pran is not. But we still feel that we don't have enough energy. Because we have become the slaves to the environment. We suffer because we have not learned how to control the tools and the instruments provided by God. The body and mind are great instruments for higher attainment, but only if they are disciplined and only if they are under our control. Because if they are not in our control, then of course, then we are the slaves. When the body, breath, and mind are out of control, they create great problems. They do not let us concentrate within to explore the inner potentials. There's a whole big universe inside us, which we are not familiar with. No external agent can impose the kind of discipline that is needed to be able to control the body, mind, and senses. This discipline must come from within. Sure, there are helpers around us, but we got to do it ourselves. That's why it's called a self-discipline. The self-discipline arises from commitment to improve ourselves. We got to have a belief in ourselves, belief in the ability that we can do it. We all know that in the long run, self-control, self-discipline are helpful. But most people hesitate to put forth the necessary effort, and instead they want to lean on others. But remember, in order to improve, we have to build a firm pillar of practical self-training and self-discipline on the foundation of the self-observation and a commitment to personal growth. This is our own journey, nobody else's journey. We got to take it seriously. We all know that no one can help a person who is not committed to self-improvement. In our scriptures, they say even Brahma, the creator or the creative power of Brahma, cannot help a person if a person does not want to walk on this path. I would like to stop it here because you might have some questions also. We'll spend some time talking about it more. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaye Purnameva Visheshyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much.